apartment inspection ordinance. I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Castex Tatum and our Housing Committee Chair, Tiffany Thomas, for hosting these community meetings and really taking the leadership role on making sure council holds itself to proposing some changes that will improve quality of life for thousands of residents across our city that call apartments home. And I do also want to recognize Councilmember Alcorn, who's here in place of Councilmember Thomas. Also, Councilmember Salinas has joined us, and we have representatives from a number of council offices. I see Councilmember Willie Davis, Representative Councilmember Tarsha Jackson, represented, and Councilmember Abby Kamen as well. Any other office that I missed? State Senator Boris Miles and District I, Councilmember Martinez, also represented. And Commissioner Briones, wonderful. And you all as well. You're gonna get some information here around the current enforcement practices for our apartment inspections, and then you'll be able to break out into different rooms, one for tenants and one for operators, owners. And really appreciate y'all being here. This is a very important issue. Your feedback is critical in helping us craft something that is comprehensive and has support from those across the community. So with that, Councilmember Alcorn.
Okay, so I went to the last one that was an A-leave, so I'm just gonna, until Martha gets here, oh, there she's here. Okay, right on. Okay, so I'm just gonna start we're gonna talk to you about, we have a bunch of departments represented here, a bunch of our department directors and members of staff, and I'm gonna just ask them to come on up in whatever order you want to. We have police, we have health, we have permitting, to talk to you about what we currently do as far as apartment inspection, how we handle complaints that we get from tenants. Okay, so we'll start off with Sergeant Simon from HPD.
I'm not as tall. Hello everybody, Matthew Simon. I'm assigned to the Houston Police Department Field Operations Office. I'm also in charge of the department's apartment enforcement unit. It's been significantly retasked, and along with that, the ordinance it's time for a revamp. The previous ordinance was 2006, and it's time for it to change. The Houston Police Department we really appreciate this ordinance as it takes a more collaborative approach with other departments. In the past ordinance, the enforcement of poor apartment management fell solely to the Houston Police Department. The Houston Police Department's trained, we train our officers in arrest, search, and seizure. Not really the subject matter experts in electrical, plumbing, structural, and so on. Oh, this new ordinance is going to provide a collaborative approach and hold apartment owners and managers accountable for the behavior and the condition of their property, and if needed, hold tenants accountable for the behavior and condition of their units if a criminal element exists. Okay? And I will be on the breakout sessions. I will be with the owners, tenants, corporations. Happy to answer any questions. And a cohort of mine will be with the, I will be with the owners and landlords, and a cohort of mine will be with the tenants.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Chris Shanahan. I'm an assistant director with Houston Public Works, serving as the building official for the city of Houston. Within the Houston Permitting Center, we have our building code enforcement and community code enforcement teams. Within the building code enforcement, we administer and enforce over 400 permit types. And we are currently reviewing over 65,000 commercial and residential plans, as well as performing on average in excess of 800,000 inspections every year. With code enforcement and compliance, we want to ensure that we're a consistent interpretation of our building codes, ordinances, and regulations in order to provide and protect public safety and maintain the integrity of the city of Houston's built environment. So within the apartments in Houston, we have on record in our database over 4,000 multifamily properties. So over 4,000 properties that are known as multifamily. That's not buildings, that's properties. So you can imagine the number of buildings we're looking at could be in the tens and 20s of thousands. So the habitability ordinance, Sergeant Simon was alluding to, being passed in the early 2000s. 2009 is when the ordinance was enacted. The intent and the goal of the habitability ordinance was to ensure that multifamily structures, they meet the minimum standards for habitability, and it establishes a programmatic inspection that's conducted on a 4-year cycle. Our inspectors utilize a checklist that was identified within the ordinance that they're looking for items of structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing code violations throughout the exterior of the apartment complexes. We do, in turn, work with our partnering agencies, the Health Department, Houston Fire, with some of these joint inspections require involvement from some of the subject matter experts within their teams. And it's also of value to note that 311 is our preferred method of reporting to receive complaints. And I know folks routinely call 311 for various issues within apartment complexes. We've done some restructuring within Houston Public Works building code enforcement here recently, where we have all of our investigation teams now within our community code enforcement group. So we triage those complaints as they come in, and we send inspectors and investigators out to go assess those complaints and issue notices for violations to get these items corrected. So there's been a lot of work that we've been doing interdepartmentally with the various groups that have been looking at this ordinance to give it some strength, to hold these property owners accountable, to get some resolve to these issues so that we provide a safe place for these folks to live here in the city. So your feedback is very important to us, and we take that into consideration. We want to hear from you. And again, I look forward to meeting with you guys when we break out this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Richard Galvan. I'm the Assistant Chief over the Community Outreach Public Affairs. I'm filling in for Chief Clark. He was at the last meeting. He couldn't make it tonight, but I've been in the department for 40 years, but 30 of those years I've spent in the inspections division, so I'm kind of a little familiar with it. We have 14 inspectors. Our role in this is we have 14 inspectors, and we work on a 4-year cycle. We do over 4,000 inspections a year, and it's our apartment inspectors work Monday through Friday, but we do cover the city 24 hours a day. We do have a night crew, and we do have a weekend crew that can respond to any complaints that any of the apartments have, and we can go out and make contact with them. We currently operate under the Houston Fire Code and the Life Safety Bureau standards. And of course, we also refer to our Houston Ordinance Chapter 42 for access for new construction. We keep, our management system is N4, where we keep our records. We track our safety records, and 311 for our complaints. We handle over 500 complaints in a year. And over 1,000 red tag complaints, and the red tag complaints are like for our sprinkler systems, alarm systems, that we would go out and we would respond to those complaints as well. So we regularly assist with all the other departments, any complaints that come from other departments that will assist with them to get in compliance. So, and I'll be available for any questions we have at the breakout area. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Melton. I'm an inspector with the City of Houston Solid Waste Department. And for our department, we receive complaints through the 311 CRIS. And then once we receive that complaint, We then send out an inspector where we give out a legal notice. Our main priority is overflow violations. Once we receive the complaint, the apartment then has 3 days to get into compliance for the overflow violation. Once the compliance is met, then we schedule a re-inspection day to make sure that the apartment complex remains in compliance. If they're not in compliance at that time, we do move forward with legal escalations such as citations. If the apartment continues to remain in violation, we will place them on a weekly monitoring list where we do go out weekly to make sure that compliance is met. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roger Seeley. I am an assistant director with the Houston Health Department. It is the mission of the Houston Health Department to work in partnership with the community to protect the health and the well-being of all Houstonians. Part of that mission is ensuring that all citizens have access to safe and healthy housing. Our habitability program, which we usually call our apartment compliance program, is a big part of that, and they work tirelessly to fulfill that goal. Our team of trained investigators work closely with our partner departments to address a variety of habitability issues in multifamily dwellings. The type of issues that we handle inside of apartment units include pest infestation, appropriate ventilation or HVAC issues, availability of hot water, and also water intrusion into the apartment. Outside of the units, we can address things that could, conditions that could harbor or contribute to pest infestation, high grass, accumulation of trash, pool safety, and also any sanitary sewer overflows. All those are things that we can address as the health department. Once a complaint is verified through our inspection, we are committed to working with the owners and their representatives to get the violations resolved as quickly as possible. We do not set out to be punitive, but we want to ensure that everyone acts in the best interest of the community. We encourage residents to report any potential issues through 311. That's the best way to get things in front of us, so we can ensure that the complaint is routed to not just us, but other departments as well. Last, I just appreciate everyone who's taken the time to engage with us today, because we really are better together. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Let's go, Don. Hi, Herbert Sims, Director of the Department of Neighborhoods. Department of Neighborhoods, as Christopher told you earlier, we have done some reorganizing, and we're no longer in the code enforcement business. However, we do work with all of the departments that came up here earlier through our office, Mayor's Assistant's Office, and we work with these departments to solve issues that you bring to them. We do neighborhood walkthroughs with many other departments in DRT. We report many of the complaints that comes through to the city, or 311 issues that you have with multifamily housing in the city. We also have landlord resident meetings that we have, forums that we talk about code enforcement. There's a lot of code enforcement in the city, y'all, as you can see, and a lot of tentacles that touch many of our departments. So we conduct these forums to educate residents on what code enforcement is, what department takes care of those issues, so that you're not out there wondering what's happening with your 311 issue. We also provide oversee of the super neighborhoods. And so right now you're in between super neighborhood 51 and 45. And those are two active super neighborhoods. Of the super neighborhoods, about 55 are active. And they're important to our neighborhoods to get this information to the residents. We have a few super neighborhood presidents present today, and I'm sure they're gonna take this information back to their residents so they're well informed and engaged, so they can make an informative decision of how to proceed and what to advise their elected officials to do. So we appreciate it. We'll be here. If you have any questions, please feel free to talk to us. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm not that tall. I'm Amy Connolly. I'm an assistant director in the Housing and Community Development Department. And as you know, housing is in our name. So But we don't have the ability to do write tickets or do sort of those kind of enforcement mechanisms that would be most helpful to addressing those problems. But we do have some levers that we pull with apartments. Obviously, our department manages federal entitlement programs like community development block grants and home investment partnership. We invest in a lot of multifamily affordable housing to try to bring affordability to neighborhoods throughout the city. We manage disaster recovery efforts and disaster recovery funds. And so that gives us some insight into how apartments and multifamily apartments are financed. We're able to provide that information to the apartments that do the enforcement, because in addition to what the city has in our enforcement codes, we can also bring to bear federal and state enforcement agencies that can help on projects or developments that would have, say federal vouchers in them, or maybe they have low-income housing tax credits. Those are projects that we could help and bring other agencies to bear to help make sure that those apartments are livable. So that's sort of what we bring to the table in collaboration with our partners here. We also are looking at apartments that may be financed through tax exemptions, like Housing Finance Corporation housing or Public Facility Corporation housing. Those entities are tax exempt, and we want to make sure that they are habitable and that they are fulfilling the ability to provide affordable housing for the city. So we play an assistance role in this, and always we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Good evening. Y'all look excited. A lot of joy in the room, a lot of smiles. Everybody's feeling good? Better than me, because that traffic was horrible getting here. I was driving in and I thought, man, this is why I always stay on the other side of town. Now I remember. But to Councilmember Castillo, to Councilmember Alcorn, I also see Councilmember Willie Davis here. Thank you for joining us. To all of the departments that are here, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to make sure. Councilmember Salinas is here. All of our department, any other? No, we say everybody. That everybody? Any other council members that are here? All right, it's our dream team. In Councilmember Thomas's absence, and then of course on behalf of Mayor Whitmire, thank all of you for being here. This is our second community meeting, and this is again your opportunity to let us know what you think we can do better with the apartment inspection ordinance. We want to hear your feedback. If you are a tenant and you have some concerns that you'd like to see in the ordinance, we want to hear from you. If you are an owner operator, if you are a landlord, if you are doing any of the property management, we want to hear from you. As far as the way tonight will go, we are going to do it very similar to what we did the first night. We will have 2 breakout rooms. If you are wanting to speak with the tenant group, Councilmember Alcorn and Texas Housers will take the lead on that, and they will be in the room to my right. If you have concerns as a property manager or a landlord, I will host that community meeting on the room on my left. So we'll go into our breakout sessions for about 30-40 minutes, or however long it takes for us to hear from you, and then we will come back and reconvene. I will share next steps after we have accumulated all of the feedback and your ideas about how we can make this ordinance better. We will have a joint housing and Economic Development Committee meeting on March the 30th at 2 p.m. at City Hall. This will be our opportunity to hash this out as council members. We will also have a public session where folks can speak at that joint meeting as well. And then within the next 30 days after our joint community meeting, the administration has committed to getting this on the actual council agenda. Any questions about timeline? That is our expected timeline. If anything changes, we will definitely let everyone know. But the plan is joint committee meeting on March the 30th. Within 30 days, we should have this apartment inspection ordinance on the council agenda. During that 30-day window, we can still hear from you. Feel free to email us at our council offices, or however you stay in touch with your elected council member. We definitely will continue to get that feedback. So if you're talking to your neighbors and they discover something new, or you hear something new and you want to share that with us, the goal is to hear from as many people as possible, as many tenants as possible, as many owners as possible, because what we do know is the people closest to the issues so many times have the best solutions. And we want to make sure that we end up with a win-win for the city of Houston. Questions, comments, complaints? None? Lambda, anything else that we need to announce before we do breakouts? So what she said was we need to speak into the microphone because we are live streaming on HTV. When you're in your breakout sessions, please make sure you're utilizing the microphones and for the interpretation. We are interpreting in Spanish, Mandarin, Urdu, and Vietnamese to make sure that Houstonians all have access to this information. All right, well, again, thank you all for coming, and we will go ahead and break out to our breakout rooms. We'll have those discussions, and then we'll gather back in about 35, 40 minutes. All right, sounds good.
Supporter, we're great to have you in this space. I do just want to reiterate that if anyone needs translation, si necesitan interpretación, if you all speak another language, there is accessibility for that. And so if you all want to go scan the QR code to get access to understand in the language you're most comfortable.
Okay, everybody, we're excited to get started. This is the room kind of interested in what tenants want to see in this ordinance. And basically, for a little background, we are revamping, Councilmember Letitia Plummer kind of brought forward an apartment inspection ordinance that the administration said would carry through, at the beginning of this year. And that's what Mayor Pro Tem Castex Tatum is doing, along with Councilmember Tiffany Thomas, to kind of take that ordinance through to the finish line. And what this ordinance does, since about 60%, close to 60% of Houstonians are renters, and we're trying to put some more teeth and some more organization into making sure that tenant complaints are handled expeditiously, and that repeat violators, repeat owners and property managers and those apartment buildings that receive many, many complaints and don't have a good track record of getting things fixed, that they will be, kind of singled out so we can work with them to make sure that the items are addressed. They'll be in a separate category of apartment buildings and they'll be held to accountability until they can get their name kind of off that list. Because we often, as council members during public session, for years we've heard tenants come to the podium and talk about the horrible conditions in their apartment complexes. So we really, as a city council, want to make sure that we are doing all we can within all of our department's power to hold those responsible accountable for people having a safe, reliable place to live. So really, we've got a whiteboard here. We're just going to hear from you guys. And I went to the last meeting and Councilmember Thomas ran it, and she basically started off by asking people, And remember to come to the mic if you want to talk. Just tell us about your experience, if you have an experience in making a complaint as a tenant, big or small, how you complained about, how you made your complaint. Did you call 311? Did you call property management? Was it expeditiously resolved? Did it take a long time? We just want to hear from you about what your experience has been in making a complaint and how it was handled, and then that will help us incorporate ways to make things go smoother perhaps within this ordinance. So don't be shy, we've heard it all, and feel free to just tell us a little bit about something that perhaps happened with you at your apartment. Just go to the mic and we appreciate it very much.
Greetings. First, thank you for making this happen. It's a really big deal, and I appreciate it. My name is Douglas Gallardo, Jr. I previously represented 2411 Washington, the apartment complex there. I was the community leader. I was responsible for organizing the activities that happened there in response to all of the problems that we experienced inside the apartment complex. What I will say is that it was really good for a long time. But then once the construction started on I-10, the unhoused community that lived there kind of were pushed out of that location, and so they started to invade. I don't want to say invade because that's kind of mean, but like they started to come into the apartment complexes. And when I was at 2411, prior to that even happening, we had a lot of complaints about the doors, the exterior doors being broken. Because people would come and they would break the doors open, then they would come into the apartment complex and they would break into the storage units and the apartment buildings and that kind of thing.
And how did you report those instances of broken doors?
Directly to the property management company through their ticketing system.
Okay.
So there is a track record of it. So it took a long time for those doors to get repaired. Part of the response that we got was that it took a long time to get parts, which, okay, fine, I guess. But the main response was that we were told that the property owners were not going to put forth so much investment into getting it fixed every time that they would break it, because they were breaking it like every weekend. They would come and fix it, it would get broken the next weekend. Some guys were showing up with crowbars now and then to break the doors open or get into the garages or whatever. So then when the unhoused community came to our apartment building, the doors were already broken. And so they just moved in. There was a guy who was living in our club view room, which is a downtown view room that's open to the public. He was living in there for like 3 months, reported. Cops showed up. As soon as they would show up, somehow he knew that they were coming. He would get out of the building. He'd be gone. They can't find him. He would come back 3 hours later. We called the cops again. He would leave because somehow he knew that they were coming. And then, he would come back. And for 3 months, on and on and on.
Right.
There wouldn't be any security. We would tell the property management company they wouldn't get it fixed.
So security issues, broken doors. I think the HPD rep is in the other room, but
Yeah.
I'll make sure that gets addressed. But those have been your issues. You mainly dealt
Yes.
through property management. Your only city contact was HPD?
No, actually, so once it escalated to a point where I knew that we couldn't get the property management to do anything about it, and there was no way for us to get recourse through the property owners or even any kind of contact with them, I reached out to Mario Castillo's office. And because I had a relationship with
Sure.
him prior to that.
Right.
And so I reached out to him. I told him what was going on. I reached out to, I believe, Ms. Plummer as well.
Right.
I believe I actually sent numerous emails to all of the council members, maybe not your office, I'm not sure yet, and just let everybody know what was going on. And I asked for a meeting between HPD, the property owners, the property management company, and me and some of the other residents who lived in the building.
Right, okay.
And then after that is when this all started to happen.
Okay, well, great. That's all really good feedback. Yes?
Currently 77009. That apartment building is in 77007.
Okay, so security issues, problems with the unhoused, and kind of a long time period before things were getting fixed because
Yes.
they kept happening so regularly.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
One thing I would like to would like you to know is that the apartments, I'm sure the HPD knows this already, but the apartments are targeted by criminal organizations which will come in every now and then to break into the apartment garages. They will hit a bunch of cars and steal their wheels, and then
I've
they
heard
take
about
off.
that. And Sergeant Simon, I'm glad to see you. They have had some issues at his complex with, they break the outside doors, and they keep coming and breaking the outside doors, and property management kind of can't keep up with the, replacement parts and getting it fixed. And, just some security issues. Just want to, they've called HPD, HPD's been out, but
When you say outside doors, referring to just the front doors of a residence, or like the gates?
exterior
Oh,
doors, where you go in one door and then you get into all the doors of the apartment.
Okay. Sorry.
That way they can hear me.
Yeah, sorry. Concerning, and again, that's something we need to work with you on. My question to you, and we get with you afterwards, and just, hey, who is in care, custody, control of this property? Let's work together. Let's establish a pattern of behavior. If your exterior doors or the culprits are doing this at a certain time period, it's our job at field operations to adjust personnel accordingly and apprehend these people. And furthermore, what I would ask, and this is what the problem we ran into some other apartment complexes, is if apprehended and they're your tenants, right, we need to see a little bit of corrective action there. But your property being damaged, willfully being damaged by another, that's something we need to work on with the Houston Police Department. Again, my cohort's here, happy to work with you, establish a pattern of behavior, figure out who's doing it, and let's just get them caught. And we also, I also preface with, there are times where, it's just human laziness. Sometimes just people don't want to walk around,
Agreed.
Kids are being kids. And again, sometimes it's not just solely criminal. And we need to work with y'all and establish, okay, people are just naturally being lazy. Let's figure out, so we don't have to come out.
In what way do you mean being lazy?
Oh, prime example, a board on a fence, rather than the kids walk around, they just kick the board in the fence. It's an analogy.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's something we might need to work. On your scenarios, that's not the case. We're talking about doors. And when we say getting broken in, I didn't hear the question. Doors getting broken in, and then vagrants are getting inside the apartment complex, they're stealing appliances. What is the purpose of said breaking?
Well, one was to live in our building, because they would go swimming in our pool and things like that, so they were getting in to live there. But also they would break into the storage units, and they would break into some of the apartments.
And just out of curiosity, and again, you don't have to discuss specifics, was it to go and deprive you of something, take it? Or was it just to, was it more of a vagrancy issue, get out of the heat? Or is it kids just, and again, if you don't.
I don't believe it was children. Every time the photos that I have, they're all adults. I believe that they were there to steal things. There was one instance where in the city view room that we have, or had, I don't live there anymore, they hid a backpack full of some kind of stuff and some stolen goods in one of those cabinets in that room. The guy left, and then like 2 or 3 hours later, he came back and it had been taken, and he came and kicked the door in the leasing office. And
Correct. And that's something we need to work on with y'all. We're going to pair up and work with you. This ordinance, though, is designed, if we, the police department, want to work with him, and he takes no proactive effort, it's completely indifferent. We've told you these doors are getting broken in. We've told you we have stolen materials. We've told you we have an issue going on. And he takes no proactive, cooperative effort, that's what this ordinance is for. Okay? But yeah, just, again, questions about the ordinance happening. But yes, we'll get with you afterwards and work on that.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's right. That's what this ordinance is intending to do. Really work with these owners to make sure things are getting done. And if they don't get done, you're on a list. You're on the naughty list. And you know, as an apartment owner, you're going to want to come off that list if you want people to rent in your apartment building. Somebody else want to come and talk about your experience at your apartment? Just state your name, maybe in your zip code would be helpful.
My name is Felicia Nelson. I have lived at 3 different apartment complexes, 77026, 77022, and now I'm at 77076. My experience with bed bug infestation, mold, me and my grandkids, we just moved out of zip code 77022, full of mold, full of bed bugs, infestation. Now, I have pneumonia in my lungs before the mold. I have asked the complex to come out. The owner said that she would send somebody out. They never came.
So you called your property manager
Yes.
first. Did you ever involve the city?
Yes, the
Okay.
city was supposed to come out. I did call 311. The manager told them that I had moved out. The apartment was full of mold, so we could not stay in that unit.
Do
And
we
it
have
was-
somebody from health in here right now? Come on up. I know we don't do mold inspections. We do pest control
It
inspections.
was full of bed bugs when I first moved in
And so
there.
basically, your property manager didn't get anybody out there to look at
No,
it?
she told me I brought the bed bugs.
Oh,
I did not.
okay.
Yes, good evening. So, yes, we do pest infestation. If there is a complaint, we go, one of the investigators will go out there to make sure that if they see any type of pest, they will let the management know, hey, you need to get pest control done. For bed bugs, that's a tricky question because sometimes in the lease, they will let you know, like you have to sign a lease and say, if dealing with bed bugs, so they might tell you, you have to, pay for yourself. But usually investigators.
Okay,
Yeah.
excuse me, pay for it myself, but the
Yes.
bed bugs was there before I got there. The previous tenant had the bed bugs, not me. So why
Correct.
should I pay for somebody else's infestation?
It depends on the lease contract, but usually when we go out there, the management would do as a courtesy to do a bed bugs treatment because a bed bugs treatment is very expensive. Instead of like a pest control, when they come out, when you, for service every weekly or bi-weekly, it's a different type of service. So that's one of the issues sometimes we come across dealing with. And also mold. We do not test for mold. We let the tenants know, like, we do not test for mold, but we will check for water intrusion, leaks, or cracks. And one of the investigators will, if they see any findings, they use their flare cameras to check any moisture. So they will let the management know they need to fix this issue. The sheetrock, if they do not fix it, if they're not comply, we will, issue a citation. But it's really important to call 311, and we'll have an investigator sent out there. But the issue was if you're not in the unit and the investigator does go out there, you're not there, we can't really go inside the unit because you're not available. Also, you have to be the leaseholder. So a lot of times people do call in 311, but if you're not the leaseholder, the investigator cannot do a investigation.
Okay, so basically you saying y'all don't deal with our health and well-being, and neither does the apartments because this has happened, due to the mold there. It was mold, and I'm on housing, they saw the mold. They saw the mold before they
Right.
inspected it.
And this is why we're all here, right? This is what, we're having situations where you're not getting satisfied by whatever your apartment owner or property manager is doing. So the city does need to get involved. It was a surprise to me that we don't do mold inspections, and I don't think any city, we've looked into it. But obviously, if he finds leakage and water, there's probably mold. So that can get cited if that doesn't get fixed. So we're making this ordinance so if you don't have luck with your property, you should always call 311 with these problems anyway. You call your property manager too, but call 311 so it starts getting in the city record. Then we get health to go out there. Then if they find issue of leakage of water, that's obviously going to create some mold, or there's a pest problem or bed bugs or whatever it is, they're going to talk to the owner. We're going to talk to the building owner to get that rectified. And if it's not, we're going to issue citations. And once you get a certain number of citations, I think it's 10 in 6 months, you're going on, and we come to tell you to rectify this stuff. If you don't, you're going on this list. And we're just going to be a lot more proactive about dealing with this. And that's why this apartment inspection ordinance is so important. So really appreciate your firsthand experience. I know it's frustrating that you're not getting the help you need, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to hold apartment owners accountable. Sure.
Can I ask you something really quickly, ma'am? I'm sorry. I know you're talking about the suggestion or the issues that you're dealing with. What type of actions would you have liked the property to take to support you in your healthy living? What things do you think that they could have done that maybe we can also suggest that is actions that properties take to be able to move you or support you in ways that you're not forced to live in that unit?
First of all, I pay my rent. I pay my rent on time. And I shouldn't have to live with bed bugs or mold when I pay my rent. That's the first action. I have 2 little girls that we all have asthma. We can't breathe that stuff.
So what can we do to support you to not live in that? Would it be, well, do you have ideas of what the property could have done to make sure that you're not living in that unit?
First of all, she should have came to me and told me, okay, we're gonna send somebody out. That's what she did. Nobody never came.
Okay.
Nobody never came. She told me about the bed bugs, that I brought the bed bugs there. The previous tenant that lived there, even my neighbor told me that that's why they moved out.
Yeah.
And now everybody in that building has mold. Even my neighbor has mold.
So
And-
instead of having to leave the property that you said you've already left, what could have been done to make sure that you got what you needed?
I love to live in the property, and I wanted to see them come fix it and do what they needed to do.
Yeah. But while they're fixing it, like Council Member Alcorn is suggesting right now, maybe it's moving you to a different unit, or is there something that you would suggest that they could have done instead?
Move me into another unit is an infestation in the whole complex.
Okay. Would maybe just breaking your lease?
I could have did that,
Okay.
and like I said, housing told me, they gave me a voucher to move, and that's what I did.
And so you're on a voucher, is what I'm hearing right now, so maybe there's that additional enforcement that the housing authority, the housing department could support in that way.
Yes,
So you're in a better space now?
yes.
Okay, good. I was going to have you go right over here there to him and talk to him, but we still might want to check that out. Thank you very much, ma'am. And hopefully what we're going to do is going to help. Anybody else?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Elaine Johnson, and I'm in zip code 77093. My problem is the hurricane that hit before Borough in May.
The derecho.
Came through our complex and blew out a lot of people's windows. So the first thing I did was I reached out to my landlord. And my landlord said he would get someone over there tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. So I stayed 6 months. He told me, get someone, he doesn't have, we need emergency staffing at complexes when there's an emergency. That shouldn't be the tenant's responsibility. It is, not my responsibility to figure out, because you know things are gonna happen, especially in Houston. So I stayed 6 months. I had to get someone in my family to go get boards with no windows. So I ended up calling 311. And had to get an inspector to come out to get that done.
And was that done pretty quickly?
It was done.
Good. Yeah, all the structural outside kind of stuff in your apartment should be handled by our building code enforcement and public works.
So the next thing that happened was like when we had the freeze. My hot water heater burst and water was everywhere. No emergency crew, nobody came. Oh, I gotta see if I can get somebody. But I had to live in that. At that time, I didn't call 311. I think maybe that's one of the biggest things that we need to know is
Call
what we need to do
311.
going forward, what we need to do to get the assistance or the help that we need for the problems that we're encountering, so that we'll be proactive and do the things that we need to do to get the help that we need. Because if we pay our rent, do what we're supposed to do. We need our landlords to make sure that we're in a safe place. And I couldn't leave my house because we don't have no security. So I had to get someone to put the boards up And I stayed there for 6 months like that.
Oh, I'm so
We have no
sorry.
lights in the complex.
I am so
So-
sorry. And yeah, you made a very important point. The calling
So-
311, getting the city involved at the very beginning will really, really help.
Well, I
because-
was grateful to have, I think, Officer Luna that stayed on that and helped me with that because he made sure that everything got done, and he called me back to see, and then he came back out there and he took pictures and stuff.
You know, call 311 and then you'll get a service request number and then call your council members. You have 6. You have 5 at-large, I'm an at-large, and you have your district council members. If you get 6 people yelling at a department to go check something out, there's a better chance it'll get checked out. But thank you. Anyone else want to share your experience? Sure, come on up. This is so helpful, guys. Very helpful, thank you.
Hello. Thank you so very much for opening this space. Very much needed. My name is Alicia Paz. I live in 77054. My experience, I recently moved to Houston. The apartment complex where I live has had no smoke detectors or fire extinguishers in the 4 laundry rooms
Get that address, Chief Galvan.
for over 4.5 years.
Wow.
Since July 2021.
Chief Galvan's going to get somebody over there ASAP.
Please. Please. The unit where I live has had multiple water leaks that I have reported. Everything I reported properly to the management. They have not done anything, or they have taken a very long time in solving the situation. So the latest was February 14th. My Valentine's was with a water leak that was not solved for over 96 hours.
Wow.
Which led to mold in the bathroom. All the joints are totally full with mold, and mold in the master bedroom closet. The mold has grown so much that the air literally cannot be breathed.
Yeah.
All my clothes, my shoes, my suitcases, my purses are contaminated.
And it took 90? what'd
Over
you say?
96 hours
to get it.
for them to fix.
Okay, again, did you involve the city at any point in
Yes,
time? Okay.
I'm gonna get
Okay,
there.
You're getting there.
So, the mold situation was the smell has been so strong that I had to lock the closet. I could not use it since February 16th. And again, I reported to the property management multiple times, different ways. Not only that, the unit has had rodent infestation since January 2025, over 1 year. Multiple reports, they did not even send pest control as required. Every single week I was in their office asking them to send pest control. I had to become a maintenance chaser because they will not fix the things. So this rodent situation escalated. There were holes where the rodents will get into the unit that I reported, first to management, then to 311. 311 sent, I forgot about the fire extinguishers. When I called 311 in October, they sent someone. And the violations, the fire code violations are reported in a 311 report. However, no citation, no other follow-up. So I called 311 again in November. They went, and investigator Cardenas went. I have all this documented. He did not document in his report what he saw. Literally, one of the laundry room's ceiling was totally destroyed. Not one single word about this in his report. Not a word about the fire extinguishers and the lack of smoke detectors. Again, 4 laundry rooms. I have all this documented. Nothing has been done. And they keep closing, 311 keeps closing my
Yeah,
reports.
and that sometimes is when 311 sends it to a department, they kind of close it, but it doesn't mean it's that the department has closed it. It sounds like you have a laundry list. We need to get with you with health and with fire so they can come out there again. But these are the kind of things, you all, that we're trying to get through this ordinance on management and owners that do not have a plan to fix things. Now, we know things can't be fixed overnight, but they need to have a plan to fix things, to have people be able to be in a livable, safe apartment building. So
Yes.
your information is really helpful to us. I do want you to get with health and fire so they can check out your situation. And thank you very much for reporting
Thank you
all
so
that.
much.
She's going to ask.
Yes, can I finish?
Oh, sure.
So the rodent situation continued escalating. 2 investigators went. None of them reported what was happening, that I have documented. And the second investigator, I told him there is an active rodent entrance in the second bedroom. Please go. He did not go. So I had to call him again. He did go. By the way, the first time he went, he did not even ask my permission to get in. And he allowed the management to record a video, which is an ADA violation. I'm in the narrow diversity spectrum, and it's also a privacy violation. And again, they did not document what happened. They did not solve the rodents' entrances. And on February 28th, I woke up covered in rodent feces. So of course, I had to get out of there. I talked to management. I told them what happened. And they said that because I had reported them to 311, they will not do anything. And because I opened a legal case to defend my life, they will not do anything. So that's the situation.
You're talking right now about reporting and the case being closed. What and where would that information be helpful to you and to all tenants to be able to access? Like, I know that there's a suggestion of maybe having a database online or an interactive portal or something. Do you have suggestions of what type of information should be reported and how it should be transparent and available for tenants?
Yes, I think that the 311 application is not as easy to use as it could be.
Agreed.
I happen to have some experience in software development. And I think also that the phone, when you talk to people, and I have called more than 10 times, so I have a little experience on that, is not as helpful as it could be. And so there's room for improvement there. So I have reported first to the property multiple times, second to their attorneys, 3 to 311 multiple times, 4 to District K office, and I'm very grateful for the invitation that I received, thanks to them, to this meeting, even though I'm not live in one of the districts that are invited for today. So again, thank you so much.
We want everyone to come, so thank you very much, yeah. And another question is, did you feel like you were kind of being retaliated? Has anybody felt like if they do a lot of reporting, that the owners or managers will retaliate against you?
It's been retaliation,
We hear
and
that.
they even told me.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, and if there's anything we can do through.
One of the property manager, assistant manager, literally told me that we had reached an agreement where I will move to another unit that is vermin-free. And after I reported them to the city, the assistant property manager told me, "You're not moving to another unit here
Yeah.
because you reported us to the city."
We hear that a lot.
And then
That's
the property manager told me, "We're not fixing the rodent situation because we're in a legal situation now." So.
Okay, I think we had another person who wanted to. Thank you very much, ma'am. All very helpful. Hi.
All right, my name is Elsa. I live a proud resident of Second Ward. I live in 77023. Lifelong Houston resident. I grew up in Alief. Yep. I've got two things. So I currently live in a property that has a profound rodent infestation. They've chewed multiple holes through the walls. They're in every unit. It's a 6-unit. Like fourplex, like old school Montrose style.
Okay.
I reported it for 2 years when I found a mouse that had chewed halfway through the wall, got stuck and died. My cat kills a lot of mice. I kill a lot of mice. The other day I came home and stepped on one and killed it. That's how
And you reported it to your property manager?
yes.
Okay.
That's also part of it. I reported this to them in July when they took over. We had a previous property management company, which I would like to name later because they are a known slumlord in this city. And they seem more on the up and up, but there was a lot of issues transferring the information from the old property management company because the owner basically has been comatose for like 3 years. So there's hard for them to have the one remaining employee transfer all the information over. So he said, the representative handling our building said, it's gonna take a while to get everything moved over. This owner has a lot of properties. We're gonna try and get his file set up, but we'll get back to you. That was July. In October, I think, is when I stepped on the rodent. And so I sent in a request. I said, hey, I've previously talked to you about this. This building is compromised. It's a safety hazard. There's been previous repairs in my apartment where they cut holes in the wall to address plumbing. All of the insulation is gone. It's been chewed up by mice. You can hear them scratching in the walls. I have video of them climbing up my curtains.
So sad.
They're
God.
everywhere. Like, I find dismembered mice outside because the feral cats tear them up. I have documentation of all of that. Yeah, so I did that, and they said, we're getting with someone. It took them about a month or two to contact an exterminator, and I'm constantly asking them, well, you're going to get rid of them, but we need remediation. Because when water leaks, it's an old, poorly maintained building full of landlord's special paint and plumbing. The water comes out black because the walls are so contaminated by rodent detritus and feces. It's filthy. Everything I own is contaminated. Like, I will not be able to take anything with me when I leave, and therefore I can't afford to move because I can't afford to replace everything in my
I need
household.
you also to get with the health department. For
Oh,
sure.
I'm
And-
calling tonight.
Yeah, call tonight, and that's what I hope people are learning. If the owner or manager is not dealing with you, 311, we can get somebody out there. I mean, these are life safety issues.
Yeah.
And the city has a responsibility there.
Yes.
So use us.
So I did contact them again last week because something crazy happened with a mouse. I don't remember what it was. But I was like, it's been over 100 days since I contacted you. We need removal and we need remediation, and I need you to tell me when it's happening. So right now they're like, oh, we're going to have someone come next week and we're going to do a walkthrough. I'm like, you need to see the amount of damage to this building. So I'm going to call anyway because they've had their opportunity.
Anything inside like that is the health department. And then again, if we're issuing citations because they're not getting pest control out there, there's certain things in this ordinance, they will be on this high risk list, and we'll be working directly with them to make sure they remediate. And the bad actors are going to come right to the top of this list, and we're going to really be working with them. And I guess what we're trying to get here is, what do you want to see this city ordinance do obviously you want us to make people fix stuff in a reasonable amount of time, but how could this all, how could what you've experienced help inform what we're trying to do here?
So I'm also a union shop steward at IAH, so I'm like educating myself and educating my coworkers about our rights. I think a massive campaign, I know that the city can take out billboards. Do you live with roaches and rats? Like, we can't all count on Grizzy Hood News to do this for us, right?
Right,
So,
and we only go, like you heard him say, we really only, our habitability ordinances, just, the only proactive thing we do is have Public Works go and look at structure. We look at outside, we look to make sure it's safe all from the outside. But it's reactive, to go to, anything inside. You have to have, somebody has to be there, let you in, the whole thing, so it's harder. But people don't know that they can call 311 in the health department.
yeah, I think education would
So
go
better
a long way.
education,
Huge.
better promotion of,
Especially
of your
because we live-
rights and who you can call and all of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And especially in a hot, humid environment, the
Right.
pests are year-round.
Yeah,
There's no
that's
cold environment.
That's a great suggestion. We need to communicate all of that a lot better.
And then there's a couple just off the side, not related to my property owner is an out-of-state individual. I found his house. It's an 8 million house, and this is how we live. He's an online influencer. I was a millionaire by 32, and we live in squalor, like absolute squalor. So, I don't know if that's, like, since he lives in Utah, he has a shell company which owns our building, so I have to, because I work odd hours, I'm always home 9 to 5. I'm the one answering from, his inspectors, his insurance, they're coming to me. They don't know how to reach him.
Right.
They don't know that there's a property management company. They're sending notices to basically
Right.
a post office mailbox.
We're looking into all that because at the last meeting in A-Leaf, I sat in the owners and managers room, and they said, they're often getting this, the property managers getting the citation, when it's really, they've been begging the owner to fix stuff, but the owner's somewhere off in another place and not paying attention to it. So we're looking in with legal how we can get information on the owner, so when we have a citation given, that owner is notified. So, because a lot of times it's an LLC and you can't figure out who's who and what's
I'll give you his Instagram,
Yeah.
and then I guess my last thing, because I've dealt with this multiple property, I lived in Montrose for a long time. There are property management companies who are notorious because, yes, there's slumlord landlords like property owners, but there's also slumlord property managers who like to deal with those kinds of property owners, that they're not going to ask questions as long as their rent checks are being deposited in their accounts. They don't care what happens. And they're, the one I'm talking about specifically is James D. Owens and Associates in the Heights. They're also operating with, I think, expired or fraudulent real estate licenses. They were diverting tenant funds to their own personal bank accounts. They were lying to the property owners about Mr. Owens, he will never wake up again. So
well, hopefully this ordinance, all of the kind of repeat violators and people that get repeated citations and are not fixing things according to a plan that we agree to, that there's going to be repercussions. You're going to be.
My last thing is, if you can't afford to repair or maintain a property, you don't deserve the privilege to own a property. And if you can't operate a property management company in good faith and in accordance with the law, you don't deserve to have a property management company. It needs to be dissolved, and you probably need to be put somewhere in jail. And never, civil is cute, but rich people have money. They'll pay these fines. They need criminal repercussions. These beeps need to face real time. They don't need to be walking the streets because they're killing people. They're making them sick. They're disabling people with mold, pests. You could get Hanavirus and die. Like that rich actor, what was his name? He died. That man is so rich, so famous, and he died because there was a mouse infestation in his house. What if they kill you? Who's going to come and fix your life? They're going to pay your life insurance. They're going to pay for your funeral. They're going to maybe clean up the apartment a little bit and rent it to someone.
That particular, we heard over here, we heard here, it's not just one unit, it's not just my unit, it's all of the units. And one of the things that we were first hearing when the ordinance came up in May of last year was the city doesn't want to shut down a property and then have 100 or 300 households now have nowhere to live immediately. Do you have a suggestion of what could be done instead of entirely shutting down a property? Or how, if it comes to that, what recourses could be offered to tenants?
Man, that's complicated because we live in a state where business trumps human life. And there's a lot of people who don't trust the government to run or operate or administrate a lot of things. I was thinking about this before I got up because I'm like, they're probably going to ask me something. Forced sale. There will be another company. There will be someone else who wants that property. Like real estate is hot. This is like the new influencer thing. This is the new rich exploitative thing that they're really into. It's like someone will buy that property. And that person, that company can be, if they're a known company, they can be vetted and say like, hey, you guys have never had violations, or the violations you have are minor and they were remediated immediately. You provided immediate relief to your tenants. You're a good property manager. You're a good landlord. You can't just shut it down and kick people out because right now people can't afford rent in Houston. This is one of the most impoverished, it is the most impoverished major city in Houston, in America. 1 in 6 of us is living in poverty. So we can't just move, right? We got to endure. And hopefully join a union, that'll help. Yeah, I think forced sale and forced dissolution of their company. Someone will buy it. Someone will buy it. There's always going to want someone who wants that money for doing nothing. And I think that's really, you don't ever get to own a property that you don't live in ever again.
Yeah, well, we do
Nah.
fine $1,000 to $2,000 on these citations.
Yeah, but they're collecting
Yeah, no, I
$1,000 a
understand.
month
Sometimes
from
it's
100
just the
tenants.
cost of doing business,
Doesn't
yes,
it?
I
Yeah,
understand.
$30,000 is nothing to them.
Yes, ma'am.
If 311 city sold situation, infestation at early stages, there would be no need to sell in public. There would be no need to.
Well, right, the 311 asks for, correct me if I'm wrong, Health Department, 311, you come out, an inspector from Health Department comes out, pest infestation, you tell the owner you have to get a pest control people. If they don't get the pest control person out there, they get a citation. Then you
The first one would be a notice violation when we see pests.
notice a violation when they see the pests.
So it could be up to 3 days. You have to get a pest control to come 3 to 7 business days to, a company to come to,
And if they don't, you go back on the 7th day and say, you didn't get anybody out here, here's another citation, I'll be back in 7 days. And instead of just keeping that going forever, through this ordinance, hope we get them on this list, because they're gonna stack up the citations, and then we really get serious. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, of course. My name is Karen McGee, and I am in 77346 in Humble.
Okay.
But it is Harris County. I moved into to this unit, it's a lot. I've been there since 2017. When I moved in there, I was homeless because coming out of Harvey. When I moved in there, finally, after 3 months that the lady kept telling me, we have that, this, we have that, come to find out, when I finally was able to get in the unit, she had told me there was no more 30%. And my daughter had to help me to get in. So, but fast forwarding, all to say, after moving in there, and this is let me add, this is a 55 up. This is a senior living.
Okay.
Okay. So, the lady up above me, and I live on the 2nd floor. I have someone live under me. Notice I said this is what, 2026, so that's 9 years. Okay, so a lady upstairs over above me having children just stomping, running, stomping, and all that. So fast forward, I start complaining and everything, and nothing was happening. So fast forwarding, the lady that was there, she had actually took my rent and put that deposit like in the December. I didn't get to move in the place till November. Okay, I put my the check there on the deposit on the check was in September, right after Harvey. Okay, so fast forwarding, I start complaining about all this, and what happened, just to tell you, my door got egged. I was complaining, and my door got egged, and the thing is that they end up firing her and all these things. After I turned in all the things that she had done, I lost my car, she messed up my bank account and all that, and I sent all those things to corporate office. Police came out, criminal mischief. It's in the Humble. He said this will never go away. So, but all to say, I am still there, and I've had a lot other things that has taken place. Another lady was there. She was putting things on my door. I kept telling her to stop, and fast forwarding, then she had COVID. Okay, and harassment, so that was harassment.
This
So-
sounds like, I don't mean to cut you off, but this sounds like more of kind of a personal harassment kind of thing rather than anything wrong with like the inside or outside of your apartment.
Well, the thing what it is also, we've had an infestation of roaches of
And since you're in Humble, unfortunately, this ordinance won't cover your apartment complexes because it's just in the city of Houston proper. So you'll have to, check.
even though it's Harris County.
Yeah,
Oh,
Harris
okay.
County, or Humble could have their own, set of inspectors or what rules I'm not familiar with. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm sorry. This is just, our ordinance won't,
didn't know, but I'm
won't
glad I
impact you.
found
But
out
it is
about
good to hear from you and.
But I could call 311. That's something.
Well, not Houston's 311, but if you're in the city of Humble, you can call their 311. I mean, 311's 311, right? It'll just be diverted to, Humble has 311, everybody has 311, right? And there's, Harris County, I'll get with you, I'll get your information, I'm gonna find out who you're supposed to call.
Okay.
Okay. You guys have been great. Laura, you want to come on up? And even if you haven't had a personal experience with a tenant situation, we still would like your input on how you think the city can better enforce its rules. No, come on up. Come on up. This is my newest colleague, Councilmember Alejandra Salinas.
My name's Laura Gallier. I live in District C, and I've spoken to many residents in Meyerland about life in Jackson Square.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted to, I know Julia knows, I didn't know, I figured you knew too. My question to get back to them is, how did that happen and what can we do about it?
Right.
Do I need to go into it about
Well,
what's going on?
there's a lawsuit on that property. I mean, there's a chapter, whatever they're called, Chapter 125 nuisance lawsuit going on in that property. That, I've been by there many times. That's a disaster. Some
there's
people are
people who live
legitimately
there.
living there. Some people are just squatting there. There's lots of broken windows, broken doors. It's a mess. So that's all kind of in litigation right now, but I know police are actively going to that property a lot.
Do you know who the parties to the litigation are? Is
No,
one
but
of
I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Councilmember. Like she said, my name is Councilmember Alejandra Salinas, and I just want to thank you all so much for taking some time out of your day to be here with us. You have incredibly busy lives. You took time out to share your stories. From the bottom of my heart, I am so sorry that you had to go through those conditions. It is simply unacceptable. And know that we, the policymakers, hear you, and we are going to take those stories to make a difference. But know that coming here today, you exercised your power, because we're going to take your stories back, and we're going to fight and do everything we can to make sure that the city of Houston is there for you, so you don't have to fight these battles alone. But I'm so sorry. But know that we are here with you, and we're going to do everything we can to support you. But thank you for using your power. Keep doing it. We're going to be here to back you up.
Couldn't have said it better. We really do appreciate your stories. It takes a lot to stand there at the mic and give your story and drive all the way over here in the nighttime. So really appreciate it, and that's what we need, and that's why we're here. Yes, sir.
I have a question about the application of the ordinance, right? They were talking earlier about how there should be a campaign or some way to get public awareness to the ordinance. And I think that that's a really important part of it, because when people look for an apartment, they are going to maybe go on the computer, or they're maybe going to drive by a place and say, oh, there's openings here. But if they're not crossing with the bad list, the naughty list, then they're just going to be put into these places
Right.
that have problems.
Right.
Also, there's a lot of housing that is sort of like housing of last resort, that people just don't have a choice and they just end up in these places anyway. And what will happen is, and I've heard this countless times, someone looking for apartment goes on the property, they're shown a nice unit, they sign the lease, they go to move in, they're diverted to a dilapidated apartment.
Yeah.
Right?
No, good point.
How are we catching these tenants before they enter into a contract to get into these kinds of places, because the onus should not be on the tenant to be this like super sleuth to figure out like, is this a good place or not? If we're gonna have this apartment ordinance, it needs to be proactive in catching people before they fall into these traps.
Got it. Thank you. Very good point. Very good point. All right, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, Lone Star Legal Aid is here. They wanted to say something. Come on up. Very quickly. And then I think they're ready to reconvene, so we're going to have these last comments very short.
Very quickly. Thank you. I appreciate y'all giving me 2 seconds. My name is Kim Brown Miles. I'm an attorney at Lone Star Legal Aid. I'm the litigation director of our fair housing and community advocacy teams. I want to be here just sort of to hear about the new ordinance. I can't comment or anything like that because of our federal funding. However, if anybody wants to come to see me, we do housing work, housing safety. But I have an interest particularly in safety and in civil rights related to housing. So please come see me after the event. And I can tell you about how to apply with Lone Star if you have any legal issues that fall within our purview. So thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm in zip code 77004. I see Julio asked for some suggestions. Some of the suggestions I have is that everybody said education. They take federal, our tax money, and they have lawyers. I think some federal tax money need to go for the tenants. There should be a whole law firm that don't mind suing. See, they can't sue them if they do wrong. She's excellent. I love that team under Attorney Brown, but they can't. We need a team of lawyers that work for the tenants. Also, you asked, what could we do? Close down the apartment complexes, have land already ready. Nowadays, they have excellent trailer homes. Get it where the tenants rent to buy and teach them how to take care of homes and everything. I know I came up in a double 4-bedroom, 3-bath trailer home on our land and everything at home. Ownership. So when they go into these homes, they buy them, they're taught the equity in there and everything. And so there are also transportation with Metro. Metro have done a terrible job for us to have to walk to the bus. So when you put them in these places, make sure that it's public transportation and they don't have to walk. I walk with a cane most of the time, and you got to walk miles for that. So we look in for that. The next thing, when people move into I'm in 77004. I'm in the center there, right across from TSU and CUNY. Guess what? Now, when they bring it in, where they were giving the $500, we don't qualify because it has gone up. And now we are not in a low-income area. Please. Third thing, please, you all, get with us so we are sitting down with the lawyer, the lawmakers we put in office, and we are helping them write the laws. They writing the laws the way they understand the laws. I'm sorry, y'all get loud.
That's what we're trying to do tonight. We're trying to get your input. You're helping us write the laws. We really do have to wrap it up, you guys. I'm so sorry. But we're going to reconvene. I really appreciate all your suggestions. Again, all of you, thank you so much. Your stories mean a lot. We loved hearing from you. Thanks for doing it. And we're going to go back in the other room just to kind of wrap this up.
And if anyone has anything additional to add, please feel free to write in the index cards and give them to us.
Good afternoon, good evening. Y'all look happy. It's a happy crowd. All right, looks like a great group. Thank you all for coming. I do want to let everyone know if you are in need of translation services, that is available. You can step right outside and they'll get you hooked up with translation services. If not, we will go ahead and jump right into our conversation. When we had this meeting a couple of weeks ago, we basically started out with what are your concerns with the ordinance. We've got our department representatives here in the meeting. We heard some good feedback last time about the importance of making sure that property managers were not receiving the citations and that these citations were going to the owners as opposed to the actual property managers. So we heard some feedback around that. But this is your opportunity to tell us what your concerns are. How many property owners do we have in the room? Do we have landlords in the room? Okay. Any property managers in the room that are actually running the properties? So we've got a group of landlords in the room. Tell me what your concerns are with the actual ordinance. Martha Castex Tatum, the Mayor Pro Tem, City of Houston. What kind of concerns do y'all have about the ordinance? Now, I know y'all didn't come here with no concerns. I was going to say it's going to be a short meeting. Yes, ma'am. If you will tell us your name.
My name is Florence Eldridge.
Hello, Miss Eldridge.
Hi. And I purchased an 8-unit apartment building in 2010 in Fifth Ward. When I got it, it was in pretty bad shape.
Okay.
I didn't have the funds to fix it up right away, but over the years, I made various improvements.
Okay.
So I took it from being a drug-infested, roach-infested, trashy property to a place that's a decent place to live.
Yes, ma'am.
Because my philosophy is I don't own anything that I can't live in.
Okay.
Okay, so the last thing that I did, the windows in this property were horrible. The building was built in 1968.
Okay.
So these were aluminum type windows. And I had been wanting to do it forever. So in 2023, I did. An 8-unit property isn't giving me that much cash flow to work with. So I could not accumulate enough money to put windows in the whole place.
Okay.
So, fortunately, through, I received a grant. I went out and I found a grant that allowed me to do that. So I hired a company that's in this business, Allied Siding and Windows. They do window replacements, that's their work. So when I hired them to handle the job from start to finish. And I hired somebody, like most people, you hire a contractor because they have specific knowledge.
Right.
Knowledge that I don't have.
Okay.
That includes knowledge of what the city may require. Well, when I hired this company, I expected that company to do whatever the city requirements were. Well, as it turns out, I was inspected February.
Okay.
And they saw that the windows were relatively new. So they put a orange or
A red
red or
tag?
whatever tag on the window and gave me 2 weeks to pay the fees, the permit fees and all of that so they can do the inspections. Well, it's an 8-unit property. I thought the contractor would have taken care of that, but he said 90% of the time, once I contacted him, said 99% of the time, they do not pull
The
permits.
Okay.
But that was never disclosed to me. And when I talked to people in permitting, What I don't like is the adversarial attitudes. It's your responsibility as the property owner. How many people do you know who read codes? How many people do you know who would be able to interpret codes? How many people do you know who can hire an attorney to just tell them what these particular codes are? In my opinion, the city, the state, or whoever write these codes give these contractors free rein. There is no accountability for them. I've been told over and over and over again, lectured, it's your responsibility.
Right. So
as the property
is your
owner.
concern that because you didn't know, you had to go back and pay the permitting fee? Tell me what the...
I haven't paid it yet,
Okay.
because I told them that at this time, I could not pay all of those permitting fees.
Do you mind me asking how much your fees are?
I went out and checked, I think, I don't remember. It's just that I could not, and the thing is, you have to pay permitting fees for each window. There were at least...
So let me just tell you this. We have some staff here. I want to connect you with the staff, because I'm sure we'll be able to work something out, whether that is some type of payment plan. I apologize.
That's the thing. It irritates me to no end. They act like there is no other solution. They told me, well, you got 2 weeks to pay, then we'll come out and put another sticker for another week, and then we'll take you to court.
Right. Let me connect you with the staff.
I sent an email.
We're going to work with you through your issue.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be punitive. We want
punitive.
And that's why we want to hear from our landlords and property managers. We don't want this to be punitive. There are some responsibilities when you buy a building and you do the rehab. And if you've never done it, it is difficult for you to know all the rules. However, there are some responsibilities, and there's a good way for us to have those conversations with the owners. So let me apologize if somebody was adversarial, because that is not the way we want our city to be reflected to Houstonians and property managers in our city. And I know it happens, and I apologize that it was, but I know tonight that we have some staff here that will be happy to help you and let us try to get to a resolution with your particular issue.
Okay, I appreciate that, because my objective has always been to provide decent housing for decent people.
And we need those partners in the city. We are at thousands of units shortage for housing in the city of Houston.
Well, they
so
were making me considering just shutting it down, because I'm not happy at this point.
Well,
and I do not like being threatened.
No one here is going to threaten you. Give us another opportunity to help make that right. Thank you. Any other concerns from owners? Yes, sir. Dee Dee's going to give you the microphone.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, my questions are around the high-risk program and what violations specifically would put a landlord or an owner into the high-risk category, and also, can there be an infinite number of low-risk violations? In fact, like, is there a quota if you commit certain violations a certain number of times? Are you then qualify as a high risk in the high risk program?
So we are still working through what the actual numbers will be. We're looking for what you have is a draft. But I think that the high risk issues are going to be those issues that are harmful to people, that are causing people to have to call the health department. We think, when people have rats running in their living room, that's going to be considered high risk. So I think, everything is going to be on a case-by-case basis. But tell me what the second part of your question is. Low risk?
The second part is just if they can infinitely have minor violations. So I too am just trying to provide a decent product, and some of my competition is renting apartments that aren't even healthy. I mean, you know, so they have many violations, and so they're driving the price down, and we don't have we don't have a surplus of houses, but I see my units sit empty longer because of the population, the demographic that I'm addressing is basically worried about price, right? So they're coming in at price, they're getting the lowest, and the competition is just, they're not even.
So they're not providing as quality
Right, they're not
housing
providing
as you are,
quality
but their
and
price
everything.
is cheaper.
Exactly.
Well, the goal of the apartment inspection ordinance is to identify those very high-risk apartment complexes. And one of the things that I think is going to be important for us as a city is to manage the expectations of Houstonians, because this ordinance does not answer all the issues that people are facing in the city of Houston at all.
Right.
This ordinance is going to allow us to hold those top 20, 25 apartment complexes accountable for those high-risk problems that people are complaining about continuously. So I don't know how it will help with the competition situation as far as pricing, but it is an opportunity for us to make sure that every council member can probably tell you the top 5 worst apartment complexes in their district, because we get that many complaints about it, and we have to call the health department about it, and we're filing charges with the county attorney's office. So we want to make sure that we have a mechanism that those top 20 to 25 apartment complexes that are extreme nuisances in the city of Houston, we have something in place that we can try to rectify what's happening at those apartment complexes and hopefully get them off the list.
And then my second question is there is there an idea or a notion to create like a low interest revolving fund to help landlords out to upgrade, for instance, like their windows or so forth, or if they hit a violation or they have water damage, let's say they have mold, is there any way that there might be funds provided that would be in a revolving loan? Because they don't have the immediate capital.
We haven't talked about a revolving loan. Do you, I mean, if that's a suggestion that you'd like to make, we can definitely put that down to look at some opportunities for partnerships, maybe with some lending institutions for revolving loans. I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't know if any of the staff, do y'all have any comments about when an apartment complex gets a citation, the amount of time they have to cure, the flexibility that we have, especially if they are making efforts to cure? We hear from people a lot that say, they're going to take me to court. But I also hear from the staff that we do allow people the time to cure if they can show that we've called to exterminate, we have the proof that we are trying to make this right. There is opportunities for us to try to help these owners secure. Anybody want to, our health department?
So as she alluded to, and I think it's the same for all departments, if an investigator shows up and they see something, something's reported to us, an investigator's going to go out and look at it. And if they go out and identify, yes, this is indeed a violation, the first thing that you're going to receive is a notice of violation. And that's not a citation. That's just letting you know we saw that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. And depending on the nature of the violations, some of them, as little as 72 hours to get fixed, but usually it's seven days. So if we see you're making progress, it could be a little more. But you'll always get a notice of violation before you get a citation. So we always give it, in almost all cases, you'll get that NOV first. And you'll have an opportunity to fix it and make it right before you get dragged to court, so to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Officer Garza with Sergeant Simon. When we would go out and do these inspections, we do issue citations, right? And I know we usually would give a grace period, so it's not going to be like, oh, hey, you have 5 days to fix it. We try to be Depending on the violation, we try to work with you guys as well, because we understand it's not something that you can fix overnight, some issues, right? And then, of course, once you fix that issue, it's addressed, and we go out, we inspect the property, we walk it again, and we see, hey, you know, this property manager is working with us. They're working on these violations that we previously ticketed them on, right? You also show this proof to the court, the judge. They might also work with you guys because they'll see that you guys are making movement, making progress, and trying to make the community better. So there is a time frame, and a lot of it, depending on the severity of it, we can work with you guys as well. So,
Thank you very much. And I hope that what the owners and property managers will take away from this is we are not trying to be punitive unless you are doing something that is harmful to tenants. If you are operating in good faith and you are providing housing for Houstonians, and if someone reports something and you receive a notice to cure something and you are making the efforts to cure that, we just want to make sure Houstonians have a safe place to live.
Hi. I
Hi.
just wanted to know if you had an update on whether or not the managers would still be held accountable in their name and be taken to court, like I did this morning.
Was that from the city of Houston?
Yes, it is.
All right. So we talked about your specific issue. I think you said you got a citation from a pool vendor last
Again,
time.
another pool vendor. Wasn't even me. Here I am yet again with something else in my name. Past manager. Wish they would have put it in her name.
Right.
But that's not what y'all did.
So
here
but
I
this
am.
is from a pool company.
Nope, it is from you guys. Mr.
It was from the
Ryan
city of
Reed.
Houston for a pool company?
No, apparently he did not check that the latch was working, because it is. We checked it this morning again. This was in December. Didn't even come into my office. I know he didn't come into my office because we've had many visits from all of you. And we've always walked with them when they had issues. So he didn't even bother to come in there. And the only reason I got this was because it came in the mail.
Right.
So imagine if I hadn't opened that mail in time to know that today I had court. Yay me. To then be there and have that, and when I go before a judge, him ask me for my ID again so that they can put my name down.
Right. So this was a specific issue that I talked about a little bit earlier that we gleaned from the first meeting, that the property managers are very concerned about any citations or notices of violations being put in their actual names. And so we will definitely have that down as part of our conversation in our committee meeting, because we want to make sure that we have the name of the owners, the actual owners of the property. And whether that is going to be, we're requiring that to be in the leasing offices or on the documentation. So many of the apartment complexes have LLCs or different names that don't include the owners. And so the people that they come in contact when they're trying to deliver the notices and the violations are the property managers, because they're on the property. And so unfortunately, in your case, you don't even work there anymore, but your name
No, this
seems
is my
to-
new property.
Oh, this is your new property?
We just took
Sure.
over in November. I get
Okay.
called for these type of properties. I'm that person. Hey,
Okay.
we've got this property. We want you to come fix it. Fantastic. I love a challenge. What I don't love a challenge is from the city of Houston, when
Yeah.
I'm trying to flip the property over and make it habitable for people.
Well, first, let me just tell you, thank you for making it habitable for people, and we want to work with you. We've got the staff here tonight. We want to make sure that we get this taken care of. I don't know if y'all can take a look at it and make sure that what her concerns are will be addressed. And I want to make sure that whatever happened by putting her name as the property manager is not a practice that we have to continue to do, and that we require a specific name for the complex. We need the owner's name, contact information. And I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit about, so as a property manager, is the owner's name available? Can you give, like, if I go to give you a citation or a notice of violation, do you not tell the person that came, you know, I'm the property manager, Mr. John Smith is the owner?
Yes, they don't ask for it. They ask for your name. They say they can't put any other name but your name because you're the person in charge.
Is that the way that's set up? Yeah, sure, because I want to make sure we get this right, because I do think it's not fair for the property owner to get the citation if we have access, the property manager, that it actually is the property owner.
Thank you. I think the main thing I want to point out today, and I know some of you may feel like that's not the case, but the Houston Permitting Center is a service line that our goal is compliance. Whereas sometimes it may feel like we're being punitive and we're going out there and issuing citations. That's not our goal. We want to bring people into compliance, or we want to bring structures and commercial structures and residential structures into compliance. So to you, I apologize for, maybe the experience that you had with that. I will talk, I know Chris Shanahan's here also. We will talk about it and figure out if there's a better way, maybe it's some additional training that our team needs to have. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you that, it's definitely something of interest to us, because it's very valuable that we and residents and property owners feel respected. So I just, again, for whatever experience you had, my apologies. I'd love to get your information from you. I think I might have even, you and I spoke about that yesterday, or day before yesterday. I'm not quite sure what day. But regarding the property owner or the leasing manager, that's a really tough thing. And trust me, we don't want to issue a citation to a property manager. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's in an LLC. We don't know who the property manager is. We have actually consulted with our legal department, who stated that we can't issue a citation in an LLC, correct? It must go into somebody's name. So that's part of the challenge that we have, because what ends up happening is you go to court and it gets dismissed. And maybe in some cases, rightfully so. But, again, our goal is always to be about compliance and not punitive. But unfortunately, there are a lot of, bad actors out there that tend to neglect or refuse to secure permits or do whatever's necessary to bring their properties into compliance. So to your point, it's well taken. I wish there was a better answer. We will continue to explore that. It doesn't do us any good issuing a citation to you, but in some cases, or a property manager, but in some cases, there's no other option. Now if we had the information.
My question to you is, when someone is coming to the property, can you give out the owner's information?
Yes.
Can you, so that the citation can be?
You can give anyone's name.
Okay.
Right? I could give a fake name anytime they come to see me, because I've actually stopped making business cards for myself because I'm tired of your tickets. And I don't want to be held responsible for that, especially when we just took over the property. And that's another thing. So now when new ownership comes over and you have issued a citation from over a year ago, because that's how old these permits were. You guys cited them over a year ago. You're not going to hold the old ownership responsible. No, you're going to hold the new ownership responsible. How is that fair to the new ownership? Why would people want to come buy property here? Why would anyone want to call me for another job? Why? That doesn't make any sense for that new ownership to want to come in and have to take over where the old ownership lacked.
Well,
listen, they sold the property.
I will tell you this.
Hold it to them.
If I were a property owner and I was going to buy a property, I would get it inspected. I would know everything about that property, about what I need to fix and what I need to do when I purchase that property. And when a property changes ownership, you do take on the responsibility of that property. Now, I totally agree with you that the citation or the notice of violation should not go to the property manager. But I also think it's a responsibility of property managers to provide the actual name of the owner that you are working for, or however the person that is ultimately responsible. Because if we only have an LLC and that doesn't hold up in court, the only person that we have knowledge of is you. What absolves you of the responsibility is naming the owner if the owner is not named on the actual ownership of the property. Now, we did put down that we are going to talk through making sure that ownership is on in the leasing office or somewhere, so that when the inspectors do go to the properties, they know where to find actual ownership information. And if any of the other property owners have
suggestions about how to make that right, we want to hear about it.
Then may I suggest that you also give the new ownership the same amount of time that you have given the past ownership to pay that bill. Because boy, were you guys knocking on my door when I took over. Boy, did I pay that bill pretty damn quickly. And man, have you guys stopped coming over. But what happened to the last ownership? Did you knock on their door just as much? Did you hinder their business just as much? Did you threaten them just as much as I was threatened? Because yes, I was threatened at this new place. And I did not particularly care for it, especially when I am working to bring an area where there's prostitutes walking around naked, and I have to figure out how to fix this and rent it up. Man, by the way, great job on the DRT team or the police department. Man, your people didn't even want to walk my property without them being called. But I have to convince my staff to go out and walk the property to make it better so that we can follow up on the work that's being done. But when we call because there's a senior citizen that was locked out of her apartment the night before, wrong place, no one ever came for her.
Yeah.
I had to post her on Facebook to get someone to get me help with her.
We hear you. And we will definitely try to help work through those issues. But can y'all make sure y'all talk through that notice of violation with her as well? Any other suggestions about the property owner and property manager situation? Yes, sir. Hey,
Hello,
Clay.
how are you? Ben McFall with the Houston Apartment Association. I think this all kind of ties back to what we talked about last time as well. By holding property management liable, it also discourages new management to come in to try and fix these apartment complexes.
Right.
So that's, again, that was one of our points of contention. I do have a few things that I just wanted to point out in the ordinance that I thought our organization has expressed to Mayor Whitmire's administration and members of council, but that I'll go on record here as well.
Okay.
We do think that, and I'd like to hear from y'all as well, we've pushed back several times on the transfer of ownership part being in there. It's our members, many of our members have expressed their concern there because often the transfer of ownership is kept private. It's not something that is publicized. So having that in there, I don't know how many people that are selling properties are actually going to comply with it, but also I'm just curious why that has remained in there. I think it's something that may not be needed, especially considering that the city of Houston has, in other parts of the ordinance, said that the list of high-risk rental buildings is going to be maintained by the city and published online. So it would seem to us that that would serve as a public place for a potential buyer to know that a property is listed as a high-risk rental building. So that's one thing.
So are you saying that when you are transferring the ownership, if you were high risk, you don't want that to be on record?
I think it's more so that if you're selling a property, for that person to go and notify the city of a sale, I think it's something that typically does not happen. Typically, those are kept private. People don't know that a property is being sold till well after the property is even sold. Okay. So it's just something, and I'm happy to follow up with you offline and talk more about that. One other thing I was curious about, and I don't know that it matters, but in the ordinance, two things. One, and I'll try and be quick. One, there's a place in there where you can appeal a designation, but it's only under the repeat offender program. It's not under the designation of a high-risk rental building first and foremost. It's only listed under the repeat offender program. So I'm curious if it may be helpful to have an appeal process in both places. Just because I know due process was part of some concerns, I think by the administration early on. And then the other thing I had, I don't remember. The tenant advocacy. We're just kind of not concerned. We're confused as to what that actually is. Sorry, I have two things. Sorry, what that actually is, and it's kind of vague in what's described. And it even says that the city is going to provide assistance of referrals to tenants of any high-risk rental building regarding complaints, inspections, any work to alter, repair, replace, maintain. So it seems like this is a website that the city's going to publish a bunch of information on. We're just kind of not sure what that section actually means. What the
tenant advocacy is going to entail?
Yeah, what that section actually means and what it entails. So some clarity on that and some transparency that we think would be appreciated. And then the last thing I promised, on the back to the transparency and kind of just the we've been trying to figure out what if the current standards that are in this ordinance were to be applied, say what's there right now on this piece of paper were to go into effect, what actual properties would fall into that classification? Like I think at the very beginning of the ordinance, it says that it looked at data from 2023 to 2024 that indicated a disproportionate number of notices and citations come from a small group, but we've not been able to figure out what that actual group is. And so I think it'd be helpful for that information to kind of be made public so that we could look at who these bad offenders are and how many of them there are.
So I don't know if y'all have any data on how many there are that are bad actors, but the ordinance, we are going to be looking at the top 20, 25 apartment complexes in the city that have been the most reported from their tenants in the city of Houston. So I know that there will probably be a comparison of the lists and go through who our top 25 offenders are to kind of get us started with compliance. But once we have the site up, it'll have the list of offenders or properties that we are working on to get those owners into compliance. So we'll have a site where they can see who is in the program to try to bring them into compliance. Thank you for sharing that. Let me put that on there, look at there. San Antonio has a great website with that information. Any other concerns, comments, complaints?
I've got a
Question?
I've got an index card, and is the feedback we have received is ensuring that properties that have over 50 units be required to have a minimum of 10 million in liability insurance for negligence, for negligent properties.
I don't understand what. That's just somebody saying we think that properties that are over 50 million should have a certain amount of liability insurance?
50 units.
50 units?
Or more, be required to have a minimum of 10 million in liability insurance.
How do y'all feel about that?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryder Haig. I am a landlord here in the city of Houston, but also at the same time, I'm a catastrophic personal injury attorney. That is not my note, but it seems like someone else has similar ideas of what's going on. During this time period and earlier, we had the opportunity and the pleasure to be able to be introduced to many of the people that get to be able, in this cycle of being able to, of enforcement to actually going to compliance. Unfortunately, though, the one thing that I did note, though, is many of your absolute worst contenders, people that you're consistently citing, the people that are going to be on this high risk, we're missing a piece of the puzzle is unfortunately is at the times when I step in after there's a catastrophic death or loss. Many of the locations and apartment complexes that are going to be likely put on this list, I could probably name to you as I'm the lead attorney that's suing many of them in that situation. Just recently, we had a location that was getting fined violation after violation, and now I'm representing the family of someone who's trapped to death and burns to death in their apartment. These are the ultimate consequences when we don't actually do proper enforcement. And I think you guys are great in enforcing it, but I did want to raise a couple of concerns. Sure. One thing that I do see is people are they're giving a ton of citations to property owners, and then it's being transferred over for the city of Houston or other compliance department to file suit, as in potentially a nuisance suit. Those suits are not being properly pushed through. They are being filed, but then they are not being followed up on, and they're not actually coming to completion. And I know that because in some of my suits that I bring against some of these property owners and landlords, there are previous nuisance suits that just
Who files those? Who filed the ones that didn't go out there?
Many of the times it's the city of Houston. I can actually work with you, and I'd love to get your contact information. I can send you some of the information of exactly some of these situations that I've been seeing.
Okay.
But one thing I am seeing, though, is the actual enforcement mechanism of they're being fined. It's getting handed over to the attorneys to actually file a nuisance suit. It's not being followed through. I can give recommendations. I think theoretically, you could see potentially an ordinance that could be enforced privately through private firms or the city actually hiring someone to actually go through them. But currently, the current enforcement mechanism is not being properly enforced because they're just not being followed through.
So the lawsuit is not being followed?
The lawsuits are not
after
being, yeah, they're not being.
trying to get them into compliance?
Correct. They're not actually seeing it all the way through. And ultimately, what I am seeing is in some of these properties, what has to happen is just a complete change of ownership, a complete removal of what's going on, because there's people that do not care about things getting properly handled and finished. And actually, with that, one thing that I would recommend, though, with these these high-risk buildings, I do believe that there should be an increased minimum amount of insurance that they have to be able to have coverage on their property. I'm going into these properties where they have, for example, I can't specifically publicly talk about some of these names because there's protective orders in place. There's apartment complexes that have over 200 or 300 units. People are, trapped inside, getting burned to death, and then it's a $1 million in coverage for their entire family, and with split among multiple people that are burned in the facility. And these are the ones that would be high risk. And actually, the location I'm thinking in question, Mayor Whitmire called it deplorable living conditions 6 months before, and then here I am 6 months later after people have been burned to death. And then one thing that I do think would be potentially helpful in being able to solve some of these issues, because this is consistently something that I work with when I am bringing suit against the property managers as well as the property owners, I do think that an affidavit of ownership within the offices, the leasing offices, showing who actually owns it,
absolutely,
would be really helpful in enforcing so that you actually know who to cite. I appreciate your guys' time. I really am thankful that you guys are here to enforce. I think it's really, really important because I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's better to just be able to bring something in compliance than to ultimately have the serious situation of what happens when I'm called in.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the feedback. We definitely want to visit with you and talk about some of those suits as well. Any other comments, questions? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I represent a fee management company that manages everything from high-end new build construction all the way down, and PFCs, all different varieties of properties. One of the difficulties, and I have this throughout the nation, but one of the challenges we face when we're trying to bring a property up to what it needs to be to take care of people is working with the tenants.
Okay.
Almost to the point I would like to be in the other room and talk to them and see if I can help. I have a scenario that I can give you, a property that it was last year, about mid-last year, that had an inspection, and it is a HUD property. It had an inspection, and the owner-client person came and walked with them, and they agreed, they didn't have the money, but they agreed to find the funding for the $700,000. They were asked to go ahead and clean for the resident and to do full pest control, which is done on a clean-out basis every quarter. It's a monthly program, but clean-out is every quarter where it's mandatory and they cannot refuse. The side that we have, what I would like to see in this is some way to hold that tenant accountable as well. So of the couple of hundred units that this was, we are down to the last probably 45 residents that we need to be able to get in there and clean, replace flooring, do those things. We replaced smoke detectors. We've replaced everything that needed to be done. We did right then and there when they would let us in. So now we're following up on the things that we need contractors to come in and do, and we can't get the tenants to cooperate. They don't want anybody.
So is there not anything in a lease now? I remember when I was in an apartment, in the lease, it said that the landlord could give us 48 hours notice to go into the property. Is that not in a, so if I'm the owner and I need to do extermination, I can't give a tenant 48 hours notice and then go in? Or you're saying they're refusing to open the door or allow you inside? How does that?
And that is correct. The lease does say we have right to entry. when the resident refuses to cooperate with us, they won't let us move their things. They won't let us even in the door, threatening staff. I mean, it can get, we've had the police out many times, and to the point that, you know, private security and police.
Right.
So
in that situation, if we are called and they have record that the tenant has refused, I think it's all going to be case by case, but anything you can suggest?
So, I can, from experience, you know, that does happen. I know it does. And we've had, you know, instances where we have told the tenants that if you would like this to get resolved, you're going to have to cooperate with the landlord. Or in one case, the tenant told us that they're not going to let anybody into their apartment unless we're there each time. And we're like, you know, I'm sorry, that's not feasible. We can't do that. And we didn't write a citation on that because the landlord was completely willing to abate the property, but the tenant wouldn't let them in. So we ended up working with them, and they finally agreed to move to a different unit. But you know, we agree. I understand that does happen, and as long as the landlord is willing to work with us, we'll work with them. And sometimes the tenants can't get out of their own way. I understand that.
well, the answer we came up with, because it's a legal issue for us, if they don't comply, it puts it back on the property. So what you're saying, y'all work with us. In another state, we had to legally go file cease and desist, which there again, it just runs up the bill to go file on, in this particular case, 45 residents. So having something in the ordinance that requires the tenant to comply or be cited as well would be helpful. A lot of these are just purely, they don't know how to help themselves, and the properties at that point we move into tenant education, housekeeping, all the things that we can do to help. But when, for example, if it's a plumbing overflow, I believe one of the officers spoke on that, if it's a plumbing overflow and they're the one causing the overflow from the wipes and the things that tend to go into the pipes, and we can't stop them. We have no other resource. You can't hardly get an eviction on something like that, and you know, unless it's a rent thing, it's really hard to get an eviction. Well, on a HUD property, you don't have a non-rent suit there, so you're kind of trapped. So if there's any way the ordinance could say, you know, hey, you've been notified 3 times. We tried to put just a single line release. We refuse to let you in. Sign that for me, and we'll take that back to the city. The other thing that happened to us was the the smoke alarms that we put in for the new requirement for building code. They were in the courtyard the next morning. I mean, literally, it looked like they all got together and pitted the place with them. And
you installed them and then they took them out?
That's correct. They threw them out in the courtyard, and then the fire stops that are required, those run us about $27 to $35 a piece, 2 per stove, and they threw them out in the courtyard.
Was there any feedback as to why they, you know, was it a blinking light? Was it a beeping sound?
They don't want them.
Was there anything?
I mean, it would happen so quick that there's no way they were waiting for it to have gone off. I mean, they were just like, we're not putting up with this. We don't want them. So you take.
We don't want the fire detector.
They
the fire
don't want them because
smoke
I'm
alarm.
sure because they get noisy if you're, you know, cooking into that regard that it's smoking. But we've used the current ones that are the ion batteries that are legally required to go in there, or the COs that are required, CO2 detectors.
Okay.
And we still have that. So if there's any way the ordinance could possibly include.
Talk about some tenant
Hey,
responsibilities.
landlord, this is something
Okay.
that you can do, and we will work with you on that because, you know, particularly pest control, it's next to impossible without them complying to get a building under control. So particularly on rodents and roaches, and we've done everything from bombing attics and, I mean, exterior, everything, and nothing works until those tenants come into compliance with us.
Thank you for sharing
And we call
that.
them residents, not tenants, but I was just,
Okay,
you know.
residents. That's fine. To the staff, any additional comments y'all would like to make? Nope. Anything else? I think we're going to go next door to reconvene and see what came out of the tenant meeting and kind of share some of the things that we talked about. And then again, for timeline, the joint committee meeting is on March the 30th at 2 p.m. in City Hall chambers. And then we do expect for the ordinance to go to City Council at 30 days after the committee meeting. Yes, sir.
I think you guys were talking about going to have a list. So like if I work with acquiring properties, and will we know if they're on that high-risk list, or you're working on that?
The plan is to
Okay.
have it on the site.
Okay. Okay. And ETA, like a month, 2 months? Who knows?
It's a little premature right now. Somebody said San Antonio has a website, so we'll check it out for sure. Yeah. If we can have your attention, we do want to just kind of do a final wrap-up. Again, thank you all for being here. I do want to give a special thanks to all of our city employees. We appreciate you taking time this evening to be here. This is very important to the mayor and to all of the council members. We want to make sure that we get this right. And the only way we can do that, when we start talking about public policy, we have to make sure we include the public. And so this is the reason why we've hosted these 2 meetings. We've live streamed it. We've translated it. We have encouraged people to give us your feedback in any venues that we can. We've encouraged our council members to put it in their newsletters. If you know of other people that wanted to come, that could not come, that may have some feedback, please make sure you get that information to us. In closing, we will have a joint committee meeting on March the 30th. You're all invited. It's 2 p.m. at City Hall, and then 30 days after our joint committee meeting with the council members, we expect the ordinance to come to City Council for a vote. So, Councilmember Alcorn, do you have anything that you'd like to add? Thank you for the work
Real
you
quick,
did.
just want to thank everybody again for coming and for sharing your stories with us and for working with us to make this the best ordinance it could be. So thank you.
All right. I mean, y'all look like y'all want to stay. Y'all have more things to say or what? Y'all didn't get up. Y'all don't plan. What is it? Y'all want to stay?
No.
Y'all don't have anything to do? Anywhere to go? No, this is very important. That's why I'm like, is something else? Anything else? You know what? We should have brought tacos. We should have brought tacos. Maybe we'll do something special at the committee meeting. Maybe we'll have a snack at the committee meeting. How about that? All right. I'm sorry?
HTV.
Where can you go to review the ordinance? Is it online? I know it's outside. I don't know if that's going to be of any help to you. I know you can take pictures of it. They blew it up so you can see the ordinance outside.
I don't think there's one online yet while they're working on it.
While we're working on it, I don't. Can you ask Lambda if it's online? If it's online, I know we got an email copy. Reach out to your council member, and get a copy. But you can definitely take pictures. We blew it up. You did? Okay, and you can share that to get some additional feedback as well.
And I do want to recognize there was a representative from Councilmember Evan Shabazz's office and Councilmember Twyla Carter's office here too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, y'all, I'm leaving. Good night. Like, y'all didn't want to, I feel like y'all don't want to leave.